Well, I'm sorry that we're having a bit of trouble connecting with her. Hello? Hello, Antonella?
Yes, hi.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
Yes, here I am. Thank you for calling me.
Okay.
Thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate.
Thank you for saying yes, for being here with us. Well, to everyone, we're here in the space of MONAT in the gallery, and we're here today in the quick talk with Antonella Quacchia. I hope that I'm pronouncing that well. I'm really sorry. But, she's one of our artists. She has been participating with us. And now she is, holding also here an exhibition, a collective exhibition, a new one. You can see here her paintings. She has a mixture of in her origins that maybe she will tell us a bit more about them better than me. Let us know a bit about you. Introduce yourself also to the persons that are watching us.
Sorry, could you please repeat the question because I can't hear you with the...
Yes, no worries. Yes, that you can introduce yourself so that people know a little bit about you.
Yes, I am an Italian artist. I was born in Gorizia in Italy, north of Italy. I'm 64 years old and I live in Vienna, in Austria. I've really started my artistic career only about a year ago, really, when I could totally dedicate myself to painting. First, my academic background is in computer science, and I spent most of my professional life working in that sector. But now I'm really enjoying having the possibility to express myself through painting, something that I have loved to do the whole of my life.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, thank you for being here, for saying yes to Ask the MONAT in the collaboration. And also, we would like to know how it's going with this exhibition. Are you happy with the exhibition and the collective and the other artists that you're with?
Yes, I have several exhibitions. The one there with you, which I'm very pleased of. And coming soon, there will be a solo exhibition in Venice. The opening will be on the 9th of August, done by the art critic Marta Locke. And all the details are on my website, on my Facebook, on my Instagram account. And I've, of course, welcome anybody who would like to be there. At this moment, I also have another exhibition in Vienna here. With what I call my old-timers series, with artworks from my early days, because I started really sort of painting in 2017. I started taking some classes, but of course in the midst of a very complex and demanding job and also family responsibility. But I have some paintings of those that period, and they are now visible in an art gallery here in Vienna called Wien Artig.
That's great.
So those are, and other exhibitions that I will have in Norway and other in Vienna as well, and etc. So because I really love to expose my artwork I really believe that there is a lot of positive energy that is exchanged when one can be in front of an artwork. And I had the privilege since my childhood to be able to see artwork. So for me, that is very important.
Yeah, that's great. So you have a great influence. And also, well, I need something that I want also to say that everyone who's watching, please leave us in the chat all the questions that you may have, while listening to Antonella, because I think that that would be nice and interesting of the things that you can be, that you can be interested in as well. So leave the questions there in the chat. So. Now, Antonella, we would like to know a little bit more about these pieces that we have here in the gallery. Could you explain a little bit what you choose here?
Yeah, sure. So those two pieces are called, well, the bottom one that you see there is called Lovers, and the top one is called Encounters. And they are two pieces that are part of my floating form series. So the floating form series is it's a series where I really invite people to take another point of view and to look at elements that might be familiar, like places, like objects, like people, but in a different way, and to really approach the canvas and let oneself be surprised, look at the details, and let maybe resonate one own inner world with, let the canvas resonate with one inner world, and let emotions and thoughts and sensations freely flow. So Lovers is it's quite a large canvas, as you can see, 1 meter tall and 80 centimeters wide. And I have employed acrylic colors, but also mixed with a range of other materials, as I often do. In this case, there are metal powders and charcoals, and I also use a sort of a chalky white color that creates special effects and special texture effects. And this painting was inspired by a statue of embracing lovers, which was placed just in front of my apartment when I was still living in France. And I was just going very often passing by, and each time having different emotions. So yeah, there are so many details that that can be discovered in this painting, but as one gets closer and looks carefully at it. For example, there is I don't know if you can see, but there is an arm that the surrounding, like the bigger figure has an arm the surrounding the other figure, the beloved person, like a symbol of protection and love, which is universal in all cultures. And the second painting, the one above, which we cannot really see it much, but it's called Encounter, and it's a smaller canvas. It's 70 by 80. And also there I've used a mixture of acrylic colors with metal powders and charcoal. And this is one of the first artworks that I did last year, just after the first lockdown. And in this artwork, I really wanted to celebrate the renewed possibility of encountering people of different nationalities, of different backgrounds, but also this painting symbolizes the encounter of different parts of our personality that may be emerged by the fact of being in lockdown, and can maybe look very different to one another, but that coexist inside of us. And you can see behind me another painting which is more or less of the same series. And if you can recognize the same use of same colors. And
Yes.
but I don't only paint this type of artworks. I've also diversified, especially this year, in other more colorful type of artwork.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that. I wanted to know because I checked on your website, and people, please do. The website is amazing, and your story is super inspiring. I think that everybody should read about you. It's really interesting. So I wanted to know, how does your personal experience get captured in this in the art that you make?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Well, how your personal experience influenced your art? That's what I wanted to know.
My personal experience. Yeah, well, I don't know if you looked. If you looked at my website, you already know that I come from a rather dysfunctional family, but I had the fortune to be adopted by my aunt's family, and with them to live in Brazil for several years, in fact from the age of 3 until the age of 13. And that episode in my family life has really profoundly marked my childhood. And I had the privilege of being raised in a family where very many different forms of art were really valued. My father was part of being an engineer, but he was also an archaeologist, an amateur archaeologist, and an astronomer, and a fan of classical music. So I was raised with that. And I remember one episode that my adopting parents also loved to surround themselves with beautiful objects. And one day they went to El Prado, the museum in Madrid, and my mother bought a painted copy of Hieronymus Bosch triptych, The Garden of Early Delights, a sort of a rather smaller copy of it, but really an incredible, faithful copy. And I grew up with this masterpiece available in front of my eyes in my living room. And I remember spending hours observing the details of this incredible figures of this incredible masterpiece, of the amazing colors, fascinated by Bosch's overwhelming imagination, but his freedom of expression through so many symbolic elements, were fascinated by the pure aesthetic of this masterpiece. And, in those days, there was no Google. So I had an encyclopedia at home. Yeah. And I had a lot of vast collection of art monograph books that I loved to look at.
My God.
And I also loved all my not childhood, but as an early adult as a young adult to look at to go to many exhibitions. And there was one in particular that really marked, I think, still now the way I paint. And it was a retrospective of Émile Nolde in Villa Malpensata in Lugano in 1994. And for me, it was like a thunderbolt. Those orange clouds, those waves of the sea that just like engulfed me. Those watercolor was the splashes of colors were making shapes and faces. Those colorful beings that seemed like out of a dream. They left such a deep impression of me. And I remember I stayed in Lugano a few extra days just to go back to that exhibition, just to absorb that great expressive energy of Nolde. And I think that really still has a great influence in the way I paint today. Also, some things like comes to my mind, because we were living in Brazil and we're coming back to Italy quite often. I made an incredible number of trips in an airplane, and I remember this sensation of looking at the earth from a different point of view, from a certain distance. that you don't always have the possibility to have when you are on Earth. And I happened to see from the oblong of the airplane some sunsets which were incredible. Well, the sky just became like stripes of pink, of yellow, of orange, of blue, of gray, and this sort of like the light seems to explode in the sky and exploded also in my soul. So these are the things I can remember that certainly influence the way I paint still now.
Antonella, I wonder that you have this view of the world and art, and it's amazing, but you have a background on science degree, right? So
Yes, yes, yes.
how do you think that this science education also influenced your art? Because I understand that your experience, but how do you introduce science in your paintings? Because it's a part of you, of course. Yes.
Yeah. I am, in fact, it's an academic background. I'm a computer scientist, and I worked as a computer scientist almost all my professional life. But definitely, I think that well, already in high school, because I did a scientific high school, I learned technical design, perspective. I did a lot of drawings with pencil, and that was a very good basic. But what I think it's really important in my scientific education is that I develop a very strong analytical skills, coupled with the capacity of synthesis. And also, I think my scientific education really developed in me a mind attitude toward curiosity, like never just stop at the first appearance of things, but go beyond, discover what is hidden below the surface. And I use these analytic capacities to observe reality from several perspectives, and then use leave the synthesis of the visions, the sensations, the emotions that inhabit me freely flow onto the canvas. And I think this is a characteristic of all my artwork, but in particular evident in those two paintings that you have there, where I really, that I would sort of qualify of abstract expressionism, where I invite the viewer to use curiosity, to use imagination, to explore, and to be surprised by unexpected details that can maybe, as I was saying before, resonate with one's own experience.
Sure. Impressive. Yeah. Do you recognize central motive of the places you have lived and visited in your paintings, for example?
Well, I definitely think that those years as I spent in Brazil have a great influence in my work. Because for me, art is movement, rhythm, connection. And I've absorbed the colorful exuberance of nature and also of the people of Brazil. Together with the music, the rhythm, the samba, the bossa nova, the rhythm that don't let you stay still, that carry you. And but also other countries, like for example, later in my life, as I worked in international environment in Geneva for many years, I've come to admire, for example, the colors and the geometric patterns that are shown in the traditional dresses, traditional costumes of people from Africa, from South America. And these influences, I think are reflected in general in my artwork, but in particular in the newest series that I'm working on, which is called I Love Life and Our Planet. In this geometric abstract paintings, which you also have too in MONAT Gallery, the shape of colors are like animated by a movement, as if they were dancing in a rhythmic space. I imagine observing reality from above, as I was saying, from an airplane or from a drone, and look at the crowd of people moving in a busy street of a big city, or of a herd of animals moving in savannah, or an imaginary urban landscape. And I think that, the influence of the countries where I lived, but also the countries that I've visited, are pretty much present in my other series, which we call Our World, which is a series of abstract landscape, where every painting is not a definite place, is not a particular place, but but is more like an emotional synthesis of many views, many visions that have left a deep impact in my memory.
Yes, of course.
And I like, sorry?
No, I like to, of course, I was listening to you.
Yeah, I like to contrast, for example, in those, I like to contrast the pure hue of the top part, the pure color of the top part of the painting with the, which evokes emotions, with the earthy tones in the bottom part, like I use black, brown, white, as to symbolize the reality of our existence, you know. So those are more or less the influences.
Yeah, that's really interesting, really. Well, right now, I think that we have some questions by the viewers. For example, no?
Sorry?
No? No, I'm just checking that I thought that they were...
Here, there's one
Some questions.
There's one that just popped up. Do you have a favorite piece or series you produced?
Yeah, I have, well, in this moment I have 5 series, but which represent really different parts of myself and different ways of expressing. As I was saying, this floating form is the ones of these 3 paintings that you can see now, more a sort of an intimate expression using earthy tones, using this rather restricted palette. But then I have what I call the Amo la vita, I love life, with much more, which you can see on my website. I also have a painting here I can show you. Something like this. And there are many of this sort of type, very colorful, very fresh, as I was saying, mostly absolutely geometric abstraction, were really made of shapes and colors. I was saying movement, rhythm. And then I have another series which I call Our Planet, that I was talking about before, abstract landscapes. And I have, as I do a lot of exhibitions, and then sometimes exhibitions have, most of the time exhibitions have a theme. So I create painting for that theme, positively for that theme. So these are my thematic paintings, and they could be really very different because I'm inspired by the theme given by the exhibition. And then I have my old timers, as I said, the ones that I created in a period from 2017 up to last year, up to 2020, in a sense. Which are very different, and I experimented with different techniques, and those are more more of figurative type. I hope I have answered.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your answer and for your time. We appreciate that you did this big activity with us, and I have to thank you once again. And please come to the gallery if you're here in Madrid to see this amazing painting, and if not, please check Antonella's website
and our website too.
Yeah, too. So thank you, and we are going to see you next week. Bye bye, Antonella.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Bye-bye. It was lovely talking to you.
Everybody.
Thank you. And yeah, bye. Ciao to everyone.
Ciao.